Hi, welcome to Food Hub. Sustainability is a priority of us that shows in all of our actions. Everything from menu planning, ingredients, social responsibility to a circular economy. Lately, we have started to rethink the whole food production and especially the food supply chain. Today, we're going to be cooking a dish from ingredients grown right here at the campus. Let's have a look how. Okay, and then finally, welcome to the kitchen. Now that we have harvested our fresh ingredients from our green hub, it's time to cook the dish of the day, which is going to be a silky smooth cauliflower soup. And for the garnish, we're going to make some crispy fried and slightly caramelized oyster mushrooms and a fresh tomatoes which are flavored with some fresh herbs. Yeah, well, starting from the cauliflower, the whole idea of this dish is that we example that in Food Hub, we want to make sure that the ingredients are going to be used completely. I'm sure many of you have noticed how people tend to pinch these green leaves out from a cauliflower already at the local supermarket. Please don't do that. It's all edible. We're going to use them today as well. But first, starting from the white parts, those we're going to be cooking just in water, which is slightly flavored with salt. We're going to cook them completely soft, which is going to take about 10 to 15 minutes. And then we're going to blend them and flavor it up again with checking the salt with some good quality olive oil and then with oat cream. Normal cream is just as fine, but we want to go vegan today. So let's start with the cauliflowers. And while our cauliflowers are cooking, we can prep the other garnish. It's going to take about 10-15 minutes, so we have plenty of time to do the tomatoes and then also the oyster mushrooms. Let's start with the tomatoes. While we were downstairs, I also pinched out one branch of tomato. Now, tomato leaves usually people don't eat. It's a bit bitter, but there's still so great flavor in it that I want to use it somehow. So we're going to put this into the water where we're going to be cooking the cauliflowers. We're going to leave it there 5 minutes. It's going to give a nice little taste, tomato kind of taste for the soup. Just remember, we're going to pinch it out before we're going to blend the soup. Moving on to the tomatoes. So tomatoes are going to be just as fresh as they are. No point start cooking them once they've been cooking under the light, so they're nice and sweet already. Nothing gonna get thrown away from these either, so just roughly chop them out. The cream part's a little bit off, as big as this. Sideways, it doesn't matter. Seeds are just as good as the whole meaty tomato part. And after we have cut our tomatoes for about 4 persons, 100 grams is already enough, easily. Fresh herbs, while we're cutting them, we don't want to squeeze them with a knife because otherwise all the juiciness comes out of them. So just grab them like this, put them onto the cutting board and then watch your fingers, but still beside your fingers, just roughly cut them once. It doesn't matter if one of the leaves are going to stay bigger. It's just nice as a salad kind of a garnish for it. We had basil, which is very classic, especially in the Italian kitchen. But then we're going to be using also some sage, which is my favorite, and it goes very, very well with the tomatoes. And then moving on to the oyster mushrooms. Oyster mushroom is a bit different compared to many other mushrooms. The flavor itself is slightly bitter. That's the reason why we're going to be using a balsamic vinegar, which is obviously acidic as well. But once we start to reduce the balsamic vinegar, it's going to caramelize around the mushroom, which is going to make it nice and crispy as well. Salt will obviously be used there. This whole bunch is also to be used, so just roughly cut them to nice, quite of a big pieces. Everything is useful. Again, using a olive oil, which is just as fine for cooking. Some people say it doesn't take much of a heat, high temperature. That's kind of true, but as long as you just put your ingredients there fast enough, olive oil is good for cooking as well. So about a tablespoon of that, then adding the mushrooms. These will take slightly longer usually than other mushrooms due to its consistency. It's kind of a meaty, there's a bit of a chewy into it, which is very nice, so we get some texture into our otherwise very silky cauliflower soup. So starting to fry them, we can fry them like a minute and a half, and once we get a little bit of a color around them, we're gonna start pouring the balsamic vinegar on top of it. So a minute, about 2 minutes, just frying, turn them around. We can add salt already at this point. Be careful with the salt, we can add salt later on. But this is going to be the salty part of our dish. Tomatoes and even cauliflower is slightly on the sweet side, so the saltiness will come from our mushrooms. And then balsamic vinegar. I'm using black one. It's going to give a nice color to the mushroom. White balsamic goes just as well, but for the color I would add dark one. Again, about a tablespoon. Then turning the heat a little bit down. And then once we're going to start seeing that vinegar has reduced enough, it's going to turn into a syrupy kind of caramelized, which will give it nice color, and then the sweetness around the mushrooms as well. So now that our mushrooms have slightly caramelized, we'll chop up the cauliflower green leaves and they will go in there with the mushrooms. These will only need about 30 seconds to a minute, so we don't want them to get soft. They're going to stay nice and crispy and fresh flavor. So just add them at the end and then give them a little stir. 30 seconds to a minute and they'll be done. So now that our cauliflower is soft and cooked, ready to be blended, just remember to remove the brunch of the tomato. It has given enough flavor to it. So we're gonna heat up a little bit of our oat cream. We're gonna get rid of most of the cooking water, just leave about 1/3 of it to make sure that our soup is gonna be soupy enough. Then we're going to blend them, then adding the oat cream, and then we are closing into putting the dish out. So our simple yet very flavorful dish is pretty much ready. All we need to do now is plate it. So if and when you're having guests, a nice way to represent the dish is to put these garnishes on the bottom of a soup bowl. This soup goes just as well as a starter for a longer dinner, which means that you're gonna have to put a little bit of smaller dish, but it's just as fine as a nice spring lunch soup. So first on the bottom, the tomato and herb salad, and then on top of it, just about a spoonful, maybe even another one of our crispy oyster mushrooms. You can already put this plate as it is, like this, to the customers in front of your guests. Then they will see your nice and beautiful colorful garnishes. And then on top of that, we will put our silky cauliflower oat soup. To me, this represents, well, most of all, the flavors of spring, nice clean colors from the vegetables that are just about to start fruiting. For us, they will be fruiting around the year due to our green hub downstairs. So we will be able to give customers a flavors of spring whenever we want to. Also, the main important, which is very important to us, and especially for me in my cooking philosophy, is that we use every part of the ingredient that is possible, meaning that once our dish is cooked, we have nothing going into the bin. That's pretty much it. I hope you enjoy.